In the deep winter wilderness of Yellowstone, survival is never guaranteed, not even for the strongest. The animals here live by a single unforgiving rule. Every meal may be your last, and every rival may take what you have earned. In the next hour, you will learn the hidden biology, ancient history, and brutal survival mathematics behind one of nature's most complex battlegrounds, where wolves, bears, and the prey between them have shaped each other for thousands of years. Grizzly bears are among the oldest large predators in North America, with fossil records placing their ancestors on this continent over 50,000 years ago. They are not primarily hunters. Roughly 80% of a grizzly's diet comes from plants, insects, and scavenged meat. But when winter thins the land of easy food, a grizzly will follow its nose for miles to claim what another animal has killed. Wolves have hunted cooperatively in North America for at least 750,000 years. The timber wolf, or gray wolf, communicates during a hunt almost entirely through body posture and eye contact, rarely vocalizing so as not to alert prey. Each member of the pack holds a role, and those roles are learned, not instinctive, which means young wolves must be taught to hunt over many seasons. Yellowstone's winters are among the harshest environments a large mammal can endure in the continental United States. Temperatures regularly fall below -30 degrees Celsius, and snowpack can reach depths that make normal movement nearly impossible for hoofed animals. For predators, this brutal cold is actually an advantage. Exhausted, cold prey makes for a more achievable hunt. Elk or wapiti are the primary prey of Yellowstone's wolves, making up the majority of wolf kills in the park. A healthy adult bull elk can weigh over 700 pounds and is capable of killing a wolf with a single kick from its rear hooves. Despite their size, bull elk in winter are often weakened by months of cold, reduced food, and the physical cost of the autumn rut. And wolves know how to read those signs of weakness. The Wapiti Lake Pack is one of Yellowstone's most studied wolf groups, named for the lake at the heart of their territory. Wolf pack territories in Yellowstone can span over 200 square miles, and the pack must patrol and defend every edge of that range constantly. Scent marking with urine and scat is the primary boundary system, a message left for rivals that says, simply, "This land is ours." When a wolf pack lowers into a coordinated stalk, their hunting success rate is actually lower than most people assume. Studies in Yellowstone have shown that wolves fail in roughly 80% of their chase attempts against healthy elk. The pack must choose its target carefully, looking for the animal that limps, lags, or reacts just a half second slower than the rest. Frozen lake surfaces have played a documented role in wolf hunting strategy across the northern hemisphere. Wolves, with their wide padded paws, maintain traction on ice far better than hoofed prey. Elk hooves, designed for uneven rocky terrain, have almost no grip on smooth ice. turning what seems like an escape route into a trap. A wolf's bite force reaches approximately 400 pounds per square inch, strong enough to crush the leg bones of large prey. But the pack rarely relies on a single, decisive kill bite the way a large cat would. Instead, wolves work together to exhaust and destabilize their prey, using combined weight and grip to bring the animal down over time. It is a strategy built on patience and coordination, not raw power alone. Ravens and wolves share one of the most remarkable interspecies relationships in the Northern Hemisphere. Ravens have been observed following wolf packs deliberately during hunts, waiting for the kill. In return, they alert wolves to nearby carcasses and, some researchers believe, to the location of prey. The two species have likely co-evolved this relationship over tens of thousands of years. The grizzly bear's sense of smell is the most powerful of any land mammal on Earth, estimated to be 7 times more sensitive than a bloodhound's. A grizzly can detect a carcass from distances of up to 20 miles under the right wind conditions. In winter, when food is scarce before denning season ends, this ability transforms the bear into an efficient scavenger of other predators' work. This behavior, stealing a kill from another predator, is called kleptoparasitism, and grizzly bears practice it with notable regularity in Yellowstone. Research has shown that grizzlies displace wolves from their kills in a significant percentage of observed wolf hunts within the park. The wolves rarely win these confrontations directly. Their strategy instead is delay, distraction, and patience. A grizzly bear's claws can reach lengths of 4 inches and are curved precisely for digging, not for slashing prey the way a cat's claws work. However, a single swipe from a grizzly's forepaw generates enough force to break the spine of a large animal. Wolves instinctively avoid the bear's front paws, targeting instead the flanks and hindquarters, areas the bear struggles to defend simultaneously. Wolf pack social structure is built on a breeding pair, historically called the alpha male and alpha female, though researchers today prefer the terms breeding male and breeding female. All other pack members, often the couple's offspring from previous years, are subordinate. The entire pack's survival depends on the health and decisions of this central pair, which is why losing a breeding wolf can fracture a pack entirely. Wolf pups are born blind and deaf, completely dependent on the pack for the first several weeks of life. By 8 weeks, they begin to explore outside the den, but they will not join a hunt for the better part of their first year. The den itself is often an existing hole, a rock crevice, an old badger burrow, or a hand-dug cavity in a hillside, chosen for its protection from wind and predators. The female alpha wolf's role during denning season is among the most physically demanding in the animal kingdom. She will nurse and guard pups while the rest of the pack hunts, sometimes going days between her own meals. Other pack members return to the den and regurgitate partially digested meat for both the female and the pups, a behavior that strengthens the social bonds holding the pack together. Wolf territorial disputes are among the leading causes of wolf mortality in Yellowstone, second only to human-related deaths outside the park. When a rival wolf enters a pack's territory, the response can range from a howled warning to a full lethal attack. Lone scout wolves, wolves that have dispersed from their birth pack, navigate constant danger, moving through territories where they are not welcome. Scent marking in wolves is a sophisticated communication system that carries more information than it might appear. A wolf can determine from a scent post the sex, reproductive status, health, and approximate age of the animal that left it. Overmarking a rival pack scent post, as the scout wolf does here, is a direct act of territorial challenge, as deliberate as a raised flag. The howl of a lone wolf can travel up to 6 miles through open wilderness under the right conditions. Each wolf's howl carries an individual signature, a unique acoustic fingerprint that pack members recognize immediately. When the alpha wolf of the Wapiti Lake pack hears that distant howl, it is not hearing a generic warning. It is hearing a specific rival and interpreting both its location and its intent. In Yellowstone, the reintroduction of wolves in 1995, after a 70-year absence, transformed the entire ecosystem in ways scientists are still measuring today. Wolf predation pressure changed where elk grazed, which allowed riverside vegetation to recover, which stabilized riverbanks, which altered the course of streams. This cascade of effects, where one predator reshapes the physical landscape, is called a trophic cascade, and Yellowstone remains one of the clearest examples of it on Earth. What you have witnessed here is not simply a fight over food. It is the daily negotiation of survival between animals that have shaped each other across thousands of years of shared history. Predator, competitor, and prey locked in a balance that no single species fully controls. The black alpha wolf leads its pack not just by strength, but by accumulated knowledge, a lived map of rivals, territories, and threats built over years. Wolves in the wild typically live between 6 and 8 years, though some documented Yellowstone individuals have reached 13. Every year of experience sharpens a wolf's ability to read danger, choose hunts wisely, and keep its pack alive. Moose are the largest member of the deer family, with adult cows weighing up to 1,200 pounds, nearly double the weight of a large bull elk. Despite their size, moose are not easy targets for wolves. Studies suggest that wolves successfully kill moose in fewer than 1 in 10 direct pursuit attempts, making moose hunting one of the most dangerous and costly strategies a pack can choose. A moose's rear kick is one of the most powerful defensive strikes in North America, capable of delivering over 1,000 pounds of force per square inch. Wolves that have been struck by moose hooves have been found with shattered ribs, punctured lungs, and fatal internal injuries. The pack does not abandon a moose hunt out of cowardice. It abandons it out of calculation. Wolf dens are carefully chosen structures that reflect a breeding female's experience and judgment. The same den site is often reused across multiple years, sometimes across generations, as long as the territory remains stable. The entrance is typically just wide enough for an adult wolf to pass through, a deliberate design that forces any intruder to enter one at a time, where it can be met head-on. Rival wolf intrusions into an active den site represent one of the most direct threats a wolf pack faces. In Yellowstone, researchers have documented cases where rival wolves killed pups during territorial confrontations, delivering a generational blow to a competing pack. A breeding female defending her den is operating under a biological imperative that overrides almost every other instinct, including self-preservation. The bond between a breeding pair in a wolf pack is one of the more enduring partnerships in the mammal world. Wolves are generally monogamous across breeding seasons, and the alpha male's response to a threat against his mate and pups is both immediate and consistent. The speed at which the Wapiti Lake pack returns to the den reflects a social structure where every member has a stake in the pup's survival. Grizzly bears do not truly hibernate in the way popular understanding suggests. They enter a state called torpor, a lighter form of dormancy where body temperature drops only slightly and the bear can be roused quickly by disturbance. By late winter, bears emerging from their dens are operating at the far edge of their fat reserves, which makes a wolf kill, or a wolf den containing vulnerable young, an unusually high-value target. A grizzly bear's sense of smell does not distinguish between the scent of prey and the scent of a nursing den. To the bear's nose, both represent potential caloric gain. Wolf pups, helpless and clustered in a confined space, represent exactly the kind of concentrated, low-effort food source that a food-stressed bear will pursue across considerable distance and terrain. The defensive formation wolves adopt against a bear, spreading laterally to attack the flanks, is not random behavior. It is a documented tactical response that exploits the bear's limited ability to protect multiple points of its body simultaneously. A bear defending its front against one wolf cannot easily reach the animal biting its hindquarters. And wolves appear to understand this geometry instinctively. A grizzly bear standing on its hind legs reaches heights of up to 8 feet and weighs, in large males, over 700 pounds. This posture is used primarily for sensory assessment, gaining a higher vantage point to smell and see, rather than as a prelude to attack. But for the wolves facing it at ground level, the shadow it casts and the mass it reveals communicate something very clear. The cost of this confrontation will be high. The black alpha wolf's willingness to step forward alone and bark directly at the bear is a calculated act of social leadership. In wolf pack dynamics, the breeding male's visible courage under threat reinforces his authority and signals to the rest of the pack that retreat is not the chosen response. It is as much a performance for the wolves behind him as it is a challenge to the bear in front of him. What unfolds at this den is a confrontation shaped not just by hunger or aggression, but by two different survival systems pressing against each other. The bear is driven by the cold mathematics of calories needed to survive. The wolves are driven by something equally powerful, the protection of the next generation. And in Yellowstone's winter, neither side has the luxury of backing down easily. A wolf's decision to bite a bear's nose is not accidental. The nose is one of the most sensitive and pain-responsive areas on a bear's body, dense with nerve endings, and a well-placed bite there can momentarily override even a large bear's aggression. Female wolves defending their pups have been documented taking risks that subordinate pack members will not. The biological drive to protect offspring reshapes the calculus of danger entirely. Grizzly bear hide can reach thicknesses of up to 2 inches across the shoulders and back, lined beneath with deep layers of fat that absorb and distribute the force of bites and blows. This physical armor is part of why wolves rarely succeed in seriously injuring a healthy bear. But the nose, the ankles, and the inner hind legs are comparatively unprotected, and wolves appear to target these zones with notable consistency across documented encounters. A wolf's ability to coordinate and attack without audible signals during the heat of a fight is one of the more poorly understood aspects of pack behavior. Individual wolves appear to read each other's body movements and adjust their own positioning in real time, creating a distributed attack pattern that no single wolf is directing. This kind of fluid, reactive coordination is part of what makes a wolf pack a genuinely dangerous opponent, even for animals many times their individual size. When a large animal loses its footing on ice or unstable ground, the window of vulnerability is extremely brief, and wolves appear to recognize and exploit it almost immediately. This responsiveness is not conscious strategy in the human sense, but the result of deep behavioral conditioning built across thousands of generations of hunting large, dangerous prey. The pack that hesitates in that moment loses the advantage entirely. Grizzly bears, despite their mass and power, are not built for sustained combat. Their cardiovascular system is optimized for explosive short-distance charges, not prolonged fighting. A bear that has been engaged by a coordinated wolf pack for several minutes is burning energy at a rate it cannot sustain indefinitely, particularly in late winter, when fat reserves are near their lowest point of the year. The moment a bear begins to step backward is a critical threshold in these confrontations. Wolves read retreat as a signal to press forward, intensifying their barking and snapping to accelerate the withdrawal. This behavioral loop, bear retreats, wolves advance, tends to compound quickly once it begins, which is why the grizzly's initial ground-holding posture matters so much to the outcome. Wolf fur along the dorsal ridge, the line running from the neck to the tail, stands erect during high-stress confrontations in a display called piloerection. This response is involuntary, triggered by the nervous system, and it serves a dual purpose, making the wolf appear larger to an opponent and communicating arousal state to other pack members. When every wolf in the pack raises its hackles simultaneously, it signals a shared escalation that functions almost like a collective decision. The injuries wolves sustain during encounters with large prey and rival animals are a significant cause of pack attrition in Yellowstone. Cracked ribs, torn muscles, and joint injuries accumulate over a wolf's lifetime of hunting. And a wolf that can no longer run at full speed is a wolf that will struggle to contribute to the pack's hunts. The physical cost of surviving in this landscape is written into every scar a wild wolf carries. A breeding female's slight limp after this confrontation carries consequences that extend far beyond her own comfort. If the injury worsens, her ability to hunt, to nurse her pups, and to defend the den may all be compromised. In documented cases across Yellowstone, the death or serious injury of a breeding female has led directly to pup mortality and, in some cases, the eventual dissolution of the pack itself. Wolf pups begin learning the social rules of the pack from their very first weeks of life. The licking behavior the female alpha directs at her pups is not merely affection. It reinforces social bonding, stimulates circulation in the young animals, and communicates calm after a period of extreme stress. Pups raised in stable, socially cohesive packs show significantly better survival rates into their first winter than those from disrupted family groups. The black alpha wolf standing over his mate and pups at the den entrance is performing a role that has no single human equivalent. He is simultaneously a sentinel, a social anchor, and a biological investment. His survival directly determines whether his genetic line continues into the next generation. In wolf society, dominance is not about status for its own sake. It is about the capacity to protect what the pack has built together. What the Wapiti Lake pack has defended today is more than a hole in the ground. It is the physical and social center of their world, the place where the next generation of wolves will learn, grow, and eventually carry the knowledge of this landscape forward. In Yellowstone's frozen wilderness, survival is never a single moment of triumph. It is a series of costs paid daily by animals that have no choice but to keep going. The bald eagle was removed from the United States Endangered Species List in 2007 after populations recovered from near collapse caused by the pesticide DDT in the mid-20th century. At their lowest point in the 1960s, fewer than 500 nesting pairs remained in the continental United States. Today, Yellowstone skies host a recovering population that plays a quiet but essential role in the park's scavenging network, cleaning carcasses that would otherwise spread disease into the soil and water. Coyotes occupy one of the most ecologically complex positions in Yellowstone's food web. Before wolves were reintroduced in 1995, coyote populations in the park had grown unusually large in the absence of their primary suppressor. Within a decade of wolf reintroduction, coyote numbers in core wolf territories dropped by over 50%, a shift that had ripple effects across the populations of smaller animals the coyotes had been controlling. The red fox's hunting technique, the high, arcing leap into snow, is one of the more precisely studied behaviors in small carnivore biology. Researchers have found that red foxes preferentially align their hunting jumps along a northeastern magnetic compass bearing, and that jumps made in this direction have a success rate nearly 4 times higher than jumps made in other directions. The exact mechanism connecting magnetic orientation to hunting success is still not fully understood. The snowshoe hare's white winter coat is not simply camouflage. It is the result of a hormonally driven molt triggered by decreasing daylight hours in autumn. The hare does not choose to turn white. Its body reads the shortening days as a signal and begins replacing brown fur with white across a period of roughly 10 weeks. In years when snowfall arrives late, this timing mismatch can leave a hare conspicuously white against bare brown ground, visible to every predator in the landscape. Snowshoe hare populations in North American boreal ecosystems follow one of the most well-documented boom and bust cycles in ecology, peaking roughly every 10 years before crashing sharply. Predator populations, lynx, foxes, coyotes, owls, rise and fall in near-perfect synchrony with the hare cycle, tracking their prey's abundance with a delay of 1 to 2 years. The entire food web of the northern forest breathes in and out with the rhythm of a single prey species. American bison are the heaviest land animals in North America, with large bulls reaching weights of over 2,000 pounds. They survived the last ice age, sharing the landscape with mammoths and short-faced bears, and their physical design has changed remarkably little in tens of thousands of years. The massive lowered head and thick neck muscles that look like pure bulk are in fact a precision snow clearing tool, evolved specifically for uncovering grass buried under winter snowpack. Bison calves born in Yellowstone face a first winter that kills a significant percentage of their cohort. Cold, predation, and the simple difficulty of keeping pace with a moving herd through deep snow all take their toll. The calves that survive are not necessarily the strongest at birth. They are often the ones who most quickly learn to read and follow their mother's behavior, copying feeding techniques and movement patterns that represent decades of accumulated knowledge. Play behavior in wolf pups serves functions that researchers are still mapping in detail. Wrestling, jaw sparring, and mock chasing all develop the muscle memory, coordination, and social tolerance that adult wolves rely on during hunts and territorial disputes. The pup that initiates a howl and is immediately piled upon by its siblings is not being punished. It is being taught, through physical contact and social feedback, how vocal communication interacts with pack hierarchy. A wolf pup's early howls bear little resemblance to the full resonant calls of an adult. The voice deepens and the howl's harmonic complexity increases across the first 2 years of life as the wolf's larynx develops and the animal gains experience with the social contexts in which howling is used. By the time a wolf reaches breeding age, its howl carries enough individual information that its own pack members can identify it from miles away. The Wapiti Lake pack's quiet, single-file movement at day's end is not merely efficient travel. It is a form of territorial display. Wolves moving along a ridge in clear silhouette against a winter sky are visible for extraordinary distances, and their calm, unhurried posture communicates dominance over the landscape below. A rival pack observing this passage reads it as a statement of ownership as clearly as any scent mark. Winter in Yellowstone does not pause between days. Tomorrow, the same pack will wake to the same cold, the same need to hunt, and the same network of rivals and competitors pressing against their territory from every direction. The wolves do not rest in the way the fading light might suggest. They simply shift into a lower register of vigilance, ears turning in the dark, noses reading the cold air, waiting for the information that will determine where the next day's survival begins. What persists in this landscape, across seasons and across generations, is not the strength of any single animal. It is the accumulated knowledge held within a family, passed from a breeding pair to their pups, refined across years of failure and survival, and carried forward into a wilderness that offers no guarantees to anyone who moves through it. And so, as the last light fades over Yellowstone's frozen valleys, we leave the Wapiti Lake pack to the quiet of the winter night, rested, together, and ready for whatever tomorrow brings. Thank you for spending this time with these remarkable animals. If this journey through Yellowstone's wilderness taught you something new about wolves, bears, bison, or the delicate web that connects them all, then it has done exactly what it was meant to do. If you enjoyed this documentary, please consider subscribing so you never miss what comes next. And if you found value in what you learned today, sharing this video helps more people discover the hidden world of wildlife that so few ever get to witness this closely. In our next video, we travel to a very different world, where different predators, different prey, and different survival strategies will challenge everything you thought you knew about the animal kingdom. You will not want to miss what we have found. Until then, keep watching, keep learning, and remember, the natural world never stops being worth paying attention to.